Elon Musk is one of those people you just can't get away from, which sucks because I'm sure there are plenty of people that would be happy to never hear about him again. But that wasn't always the case. He used to be pretty popular. So what happened? How did Elon go from a well-liked billionaire to potentially the most hated man on the planet?
But you're trying to do good things and you're a billionaire. I mean, yeah, that seems a little bit like either superhero or supervillain. You have to choose one.
When people first started hearing about Elon Musk, he had himself very well marketed. Many saw him as the real-life Tony Stark, as he was a positive force for humanity, pioneering electric cars and space travel with high aspirations for the human race and the ambition to take us to the moon. Literally. He was pro-LGBT and seemed like a generally level-headed and intelligent guy, presenting himself as a man who fought for progress. But over time, more and more people started to learn more about him and his practices as a businessman. The claim that he founded Tesla? A lie. He became the majority shareholder and later sued for the designation of co-founder. His claim that he invented PayPal? Also a lie. His company, X.com, merged with another company to form PayPal, and then Musk got ousted from the position of CEO because the company was struggling. Although, I do have to give credit where credit is due. He did found X.com before he was replaced as CEO in that company too, and somehow this guy who got fired like 3 times is now the richest man in the world. All of this information has been publicly available for a while, but the vast majority of people didn't know. And even when people found out, I don't think most cared, as long as he kept supporting these futuristic industries and kept fighting for progress. Really, a lot of the downfall of Elon was less of a rocket crash and more like death by 1,000 cuts. Small pieces of information would become widely known information over time, and that information made people like him just a little bit less. Like how his family owned an emerald mine in apartheid South Africa, or how he named one of his kids XAEA-12, which I think means Ryan, but who in their right mind gives a kid a name like that? That's worse than Latrina, or Ashtray, or any other tragedy of a name. But I think the first major moment that made a lot of people dislike Elon was his Wario SNL skit in 2021. This skit was just awful, and Elon was awful in it. I rewatched it for this video. There was one single funny moment, and that's it. In reality, I think this was just the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of people. The final cut, if you will. Elon had been avidly promoting Dogecoin online for months since the crypto boom that January, even using his role as an SNL host to promote it. This already resulted in Elon getting a good amount of flack online. So for him to go on SNL and basically say, I might be a billionaire, but I'm not inherently bad, while partaking in one of the worst skits in SNL history, pissed a lot of people off. It also committed the biggest crime there is on the internet, being cringe. And Elon, being Elon, somehow managed to make all of this backlash even worse by announcing that he had Asperger's the morning after the show's abysmal reception, which came off as an attempt to use the diagnosis as a shield to protect him from criticism, which also was not well received. It was kind of like that one friend who always has an excuse for their shitty behavior and is incapable of taking responsibility for their own actions. A lot of the backlash from this blunder blossomed on the beautiful website of Twitter, but surely that won't have any negative drawbacks for the site in the future. Elon also managed to piss off a lot of his crypto bro fans around this time as well, as he tweeted a meme where he broke up with Bitcoin and the coin fell by 50%. Could you imagine having your life savings in Bitcoin and losing massive value because some guy tweeted a meme? I think I would just give up on crypto if that happened to me. Also, remember how I said, as long as he kept supporting these futuristic industries and kept fighting for progress? Well, around the same time of all of this SNL drama, that was also changing. There was definitely something in Elon that started to shift in 2021. I don't know exactly what happened, but we can see him very clearly take a large political step right that January. Look at this. These are Elon Musk's political donations since 2014. It goes further back than that, but we don't really need to look further back for this. You can clearly see that from 2014 to 2020, he donated to a mix of Republicans and Democrats. But since December 7th, 2021, he has only contributed to Republicans, and he also contributed hugely to them. I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe it was something to do with January 6th, or if it was something that had had been brewing for years and just finally snapped, but something changed here. I know at this point in the video it might seem kind of partisan and one-sided, and that everyone is just a bunch of liberals, but we have to remember that for the majority of Elon's public life, he marketed himself as a liberal and progressive figure. There was a lot more damage to be done to that side of his reputation than the other side. But don't worry, he's gonna start damaging that part pretty soon. Thanks to his insanely high social media usage, involvement in pop culture, and general need for attention, Elon was pretty much a household name by this point, at least in the US. You'd have a harder time finding someone that didn't know Elon Musk than you would finding someone who successfully graduated high school. At least that's how it feels anytime I go on TikTok. This extra attention, of course, came with extra scrutiny, but it's not something I think he was really prepared for. All those little cuts from earlier started to add up, like that Klarna payment you've been ignoring for 3 months now. So Elon did what anyone worth $200 billion would do. He bought the website making fun of him and made it worse in every single way. If I had to guess one moment that made the most people hate Elon at once, I'd say it was him buying Twitter. Yo, Chris from the future here. He did in fact do one thing that pissed people off more than this, so we're going to talk about that in a bit too. Or X now. I'm still calling it Twitter though. Elon's decision to buy Twitter is seen as not only a bad business decision because of how much it cost versus how much the site was worth, but also as a generally bad decision because it ruined the entire platform. Twitter was already kind of a terrible site before Elon took over, but just like everything else he touches, he somehow managed to make it worse in every single way. It is just an unbearable sea of slop on a UI that barely works. One of the earliest and most notable mistakes he made was changing how verification works. Back in the day, a checkmark used to mean something. It was, and you're not going to believe this, a verification that you were who you said you were. This was important for people of note, like celebrities, politicians, authors, basically anyone that could have a following. It helped fans of these people differentiate between the real person and scummy impersonators, and it also acted as an anti-scam shield, since you would know if you were being messaged by the real person of note or if it was a scammer trying to impersonate them. This, of course, all changed when Elon made the checkmark Twitter Blue, which was now a paid-for subscription service that anyone could use to buy a checkmark. In the first few days, this change was actually great because it led to a ton of people impersonating major politicians and companies, showing on full display just how stupid the new system was, and also accidentally getting the price of insulin capped, which helped a lot of people. But this was fixed in a few days, and not long after, the worst part of Twitter Blue was implemented. Twitter Blue users got a boost in the algorithm, and pretty much everyone who bought Twitter Blue could monetize with it. This combination of changes turned the site into just tons of accounts trying to engagement bait to get paid. But fortunately, these accounts don't get paid too much because a bunch of companies stopped advertising on Twitter. This was done because of another change that Elon made, which was making humor legal again. That's right, Elon also brought free speech to the platform, which of course means unbanning a bunch of not-so-great people like Sam Hyde and Nick Fuentes, both of whom closely identify with a certain German political party. As if that wasn't enough, Elon's brand of free speech also meant banning journalists that criticized him. I think the peak was when he banned 10 journalists in 1 month back in December of 2022, but it doesn't really matter because banning any journalists is not a good look. Oh hey, before we go any further, I actually have kind of a big announcement. I started a Patreon. Yippee! Patreon is a great way to support me directly if you really like the content, and this one comes with a ton of benefits. The main ones being bi-monthly Q&A videos where I answer any and all questions I receive. They can be on a video, or if you need advice, or pretty much whatever you want. But that's not all. You'll also receive a bonus video once a month. Ooh. It'll basically just be a video that I want to make that I don't think will do well on YouTube. And you'll also get uncensored videos if I ever have to censor a video. There's a link in the description down below if you're interested or just want more details. But we're just getting started with Twitter. One of the saddest changes Elon made to Twitter was changing the API pricing. These changes made it way more expensive to host automated bots on the site, which really hurt a lot of small developers and hobbyists. There were so many automated daily posters and database accounts that just got completely cut off because of this change. A lot of iconic and beloved accounts were lost from this change, and it made an already bad website substantially worse. I also think this is just another example of how stupid Elon really is. Like, this dude saw people on Twitter complaining about Twitter bots and declared he would get rid of all the bots on Twitter, which of course meant getting rid of all the ones people liked while all the reply bots and bots were still increasing in number, especially in the replies to every tweet. No, Lucy, I don't want to check out your OnlyFans, leave me alone. Yet another change Elon said he wanted to make on the platform was to make it more democratic, so that more people could have a say in major decisions made about the platform. This would be a good idea if it was executed by someone who could actually take a shred of criticism, but it wasn't. So when Elon's Twitter poll asking if he should step down from CEO concluded with a resounding yes, he actually did it? Oh, no he didn't. He just made a new role for himself that had the same power and responsibilities as CEO, then stepped down from CEO into this new role and appointed a puppet in the former CEO position. Also, for someone who said major changes would be made by democracy, I feel like this was the only time he ever put up a poll. Like, why was there no poll on the decision to change how bans work or the implementation of Grok? I feel like those were some pretty big changes to the platform, Elon. Where were the polls? I guess he must have just forgot about them, like 11 of his 12 children. I think one of the aspects of Elon that makes him so hateable is that he just so obviously wants to be popular and cool, but he's just not. I don't consider myself to be a cool or hip W person, but even compared to me, he's got like huge negative aura, you know? Like his understanding of meme culture is a decade behind, and watching him try to be funny to his little echo chamber of supporters is just so sad and borderline frustrating. It's crazy too, because we know that he knows that he gets constantly clowned on outside of his inner circle, but he still tries to appeal to those people clowning on him without having a single idea of what they want or what they find culturally funny. Because despite this weird obsession with being liked, he's also extremely arrogant and can't take any criticism or make any personal developments as a human being to be more likable. But I think the aspect of Elon that annoys me the most personally is how he constantly cosplays being working class. On a regular basis, he tweets out memes about how it's us versus them, and it's crazy that he doesn't see that he is one of them. Government spending leads to inflation. Bro, the government gave your companies $20 billion. How do you tell who's telling the truth? The ones trying to silence other people are the ones lying. You have banned multiple established journalists from Twitter for criticizing you, and you also banned the word cis from the platform. You watch Hunger Games and side with the resistance. You watch Star Wars and side with the resistance. You watch The Matrix and side with the resistance. Yet you refuse to see it when it's the reality you're living in. Meanwhile, the reality we live in is Elon donating $250 million to political candidates this year, and also him trying to destabilize Europe with his influence. I don't understand how he can't see that he is part of the problem. If any other major billionaire like Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg were posting in the way that Elon does, I would say they're faking it, and they're posting these memes to manipulate their audience, right? Jeff and the Zuck are 100% aware of what they're doing and know that it's horrible. They just don't care because they're playing Civ in real life and want a commerce victory. Whereas Elon, I'm pretty sure he genuinely believes the memes he posts. Based on the research I've done for this video and what other people say about him and the way that he talks about the Matrix, I don't think Elon is smart enough to be making some gigabrain moves with these posts. He really believes that he's on the outside of some circle and he's trying to get in, when in reality, he is the man in the tower. He is the blue pill. He is part of the problem. But there is one thing Elon is pretty good at. He's good at sounding knowledgeable on a subject to people that know nothing about that subject. When he's in the room with someone like Joe Rogan, or he's at some economic forum talking about electric vehicles, he appears to be a competent and intelligent person who is a subject matter expert on whatever topic he's discussing. This skill is also very helpful when he's in the same room as stockholders for his companies, since a lot of them are just other rich people looking to make money, not engineers looking to grill Elon on his expertise. As long as the stock is good, they're good. Except for a lot of 2024, the Tesla stock wasn't good. It was the worst performing stock in the S&P 500. That's like the group of stocks of the 500 biggest companies in the stock market. And guess what? This pissed off shareholders. That's right, for a fairly short amount of time, Elon even managed to piss off other rich people. Now, this single group has since realigned with Elon after Trump's win, as Tesla stock has been doing great since then. So he at least has one group of people backing him. Even though he is in Trump's inner circle, it seems like Trump supporters don't like him anymore either. And there's one main reason. H-1B visas. The H-1B visa allows companies to hire talent from outside the US, and in modern days, it's basically a way for tech companies to get a lot of good programmers from around the world. Elon and other tech CEOs love the visa because it allows them to hire these great programmers and underpay them. Their stay in the US is also 100% dependent on the visa, so if they get fired or let go for whatever reason, they also get deported, meaning the company they work for can greatly take advantage of their worker, and there's pretty much nothing they can do to fight back. It's kind of a messed up and abusive program the more you look under the hood, but that's not why Trump supporters are angry. They're mad because these immigrants are taking American jobs, which is not entirely untrue. In the words of Bernie Sanders, HB1 visas replace good-paying American jobs with low-wage indentured servitude from abroad. Now, I'm sure there's a bit of a difference in motivation for not liking the H-1B visa between MAGA and Sanders, but regardless, it still pissed off the MAGA crowd a lot, especially since this is also when a lot of them learned that Elon himself came to America as an illegal immigrant. At this point in time, there was still one group of people Elon had yet to piss off, but that would only last a couple of weeks at most, because Elon was about to piss off the gamers. See, part of Elon's obsession with being liked by everyone is also an obsession with being liked by nerds specifically. He's been bragging about liking and being good at video games for years. Not just good either. He essentially claims to be God's gift to gaming, as according to him, he's a top player in multiple really competitive and complex games, like Diablo 4, Polytopia, and Path of Exile. In Path of Exile, Elon had an account that was ranked as the 7th highest player in the world, but this would be his downfall, because upon booting up the game and playing on a Twitter livestream, it became immediately apparent that something fishy was up. Now, I don't play Path of Exile because I got laid in high school, so I don't know exactly what's going on in this footage, but from what I've gathered, it seems like everything he did was just what someone inexperienced would do, from ignoring rare items to how he navigated naps to not refilling his mana to even the filters he had on for items. All the gameplay seemed like it was being conducted by a new player. Path of Exile is one of those games where it essentially becomes a second job. People take the game extremely seriously, and it would have taken Elon hundreds, if not thousands of hours to get to rank 7. So his extremely underdeveloped gameplay could really only mean one thing: he cheated. This pissed off a lot of people, and not just those within the Path of Exile community. It was a betrayal of trust and a betrayal of the amount of time and effort Elon put in, which are like the only two things gamers care about. If you want a more in-depth video on this whole Path of Exile situation, Quinn64 did one, and it'll be in the description down below. And as of recording, that is everyone that he's managed to piss off. So this was originally recorded on Sunday, the day before the inauguration. I'm sure plenty of people who are watching now saw what he did then, and if you didn't, you can just look it up. He did pretty much the worst salute you can do. I don't think I really need to explain why this made a lot of people hate him, right? I feel like it's pretty obvious, but I felt like I couldn't make this video without at least mentioning that it happened. A lot of people are trying to deny that what he did was really the salute, but like anyone with eyes can tell that's what it was intended to be. Nothing is being taken out of context in the clips you see. If you wanted to display that he was giving his heart out to everyone in the crowd, there were like 1,000 different ways he could have done it that would have displayed differently. It's not something he would just do because he's autistic. It's exactly what it looks like. And it's one of the biggest symbols of hate in the history of humanity. Anyway, my brain is leaking out of my ears from having to collect so much evidence from Twitter, so I'm gonna end it off here. Thank you for watching as always. Please be sure to check out the Patreon and subscribe. Now that I'm doing a new kind of content, anyone that subscribes would really help YouTube figure out who to show these videos to, so I would very much appreciate it. Thanks again, and see you next week.